So you guys can hear me, right? By the way, today my voice I won't be hype because I didn't have enough sleep. I only slept for 2 hours this morning because of my work. So bear with me today. Okay. So should go to this, and this. Okay. So this is our course outline for today or for this week. So we are in week 7. So today, if you scroll back to the previous week, we already covered everything, including our exercise. We have 3 exercise, including 3 article, and then we have 7 quiz. This one already done. Everything already done by last week, if I'm not mistaken, or previous week. So today we will go to this data analysis and interpretation. This one, data collection and measurement strategies, is what we already finished last week. This one, the questionnaire, the type of questionnaire. This one we already covered by last week. So today we will move to this one, data analysis and interpretation. This is a new chapter. And then assignment progression. This one we will see if we have enough time, then we move. And same goes to this one too, data analysis, because today I want to focus on the discussion on past year paper, because as you guys already know, here we have midterm on not next week because we are currently here, not next week. It's on the other week, which is on 21st of August, which is on Saturday. So book your attendance or save the date for the midterm. And then, mm, 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 and then I think last week, last Friday actually we have a meeting with the everyone for TAR Sabah academic and all the stuff. So during the meeting, they touch this part or this issue where student finish every assessment, but they could not they they could not they cannot or they didn't this time sorry they didn't attend their exam, so that student is considered fail. So to whoever, to all of you, actually to all of you, do not skip or do not, it is compulsory for you to attend this midterm. If not, even though you submitted your research in the assignment, you will be considered as well. Okay, so take note on this one. So I think we can proceed with this one first, data analysis and interpretation. So this one already covered last week, so we will move to a new chapter, data analysis and interpretation. So what is sorry. So what is data analysis and interpretation? So before we go to the chapter, to the lecture note, let me give you a brief explanation of what is data analysis and interpretation. So I think data analysis, you guys know what's data analysis. That means after we get or after we do our data collection, mm, for example, after you already send the survey form to the respondent and then you get back the response. So you need to do data analysis. You need to analyze whatever data that you get from your questionnaire, from your survey. And then interpretation is how do we interpret or how do we analyze the data to get the result. Like I said, data and result are two different things. Data is oh, I forgot something. Let me repeat. So data analysis is how we are going to, no, data analysis is a process for us to analyze our data. And then interpretation is how we interpret or how do we conclude our data. So that is data analysis and interpretation. This one to the data analysis and interpretation is to analyze data and to produce result. So data and result is different. Data is unprocessed item, unprocessed output, while result is your final output of your data. So here in this chapter, we will see what is data transformation, correlation, regression, analysis of variables, which is ANOVA. ANOVA is actually a famous, it's not famous, but this one is a common to interpret our data. So first, let me explain to you what it's not explain. Let me, yeah, kind of explain. Let me explain to you what is correlation and regression. So correlation is actually the mutual relationship. Correlation is like a mutual relationship of our variable, while regression is actually like to tell. Regression in research is something that tell us if our relationship here in correlation is a positive or negative relationship. This one we will see later. And then ANOVA, like I said, this is a method actually, not a method. It's, yeah, it's a method to analyze, yeah, method to analyze our data. So we will see this in our table, in our lecture today. So here, as you can see, just now, like I said just now, this is the first one is data collection. We need to conduct or we need to do our data collection where or yeah, where we will get our data from our source. It can be primary or secondary source, like I already explained in last lecture. There's difference between primary and secondary. So that is data collection. And then after we get our data, which is unprocessed item, we need to do data pre-processing. So data pre-processing is actually like before we process our data pre-processing is like it's not we arrange, but we transform our data into something that we can understand. That one is data pre-processing. And then after we finish the data pre-processing, we will go to the data analysis and interpretation. Okay, for example of data pre-processing is for example, using data collection, you use a survey, as your method and questionnaire as your instrument or as your tool. So you will you get whatever data that you get from the respondent, and then you mm, like you write them somewhere so that you can see the clear output or the clear data from your questionnaire before you do your data analysis. But usually in research, usually people will do this together, data pre-processing, and then they will proceed with data analysis and interpretation. So usually this data pre-processing will go to this data analysis. Okay. This one is data pre-processing. Like I said, data pre-processing is unprocessed data, whatever we get from the respondent or from our resources. So we will try to do, or we will put them something like this. So we will see the all data or uh all data from our resources. So as you can see here in this table, there are few it's not problem, but there are few like issue. It's not issue, but this is the example of data pre-processing where sometimes we will encounter with missing value or we miss some of the important data that we need, and then some invalid values, misfill values, misspelling, attribute dependency, format, and uniqueness. Not only limited to this, it can be any. So what this slide trying to tell you that this is the process, or this is what it should look like during the data pre-processing. That means we haven't do any processing. We do not do, or we do not use any processing tool here, but we just gather our data. Yeah, something like this. So data pre-processing, we haven't do the processing data. Okay. And then after data processing, we are still in data processing. So here, as you can see from the previous value just now, previous patch just now, is they're using here, one of the issue is the missing value. So missing value, if you remember our last practical, in the data sheet or data sheet provided, they purposely use, or they purposely have some missing value to tell, or to to show us how or what is missing value. So missing value here, as you can see, mm, this is example, but however, missing value, like we already did in our practical, missing value is we have that variable. Last time in our practical, the one variable that I can remember from our data sheet is the gender. Yeah, gender. So in that row, or that particular variable, some of the data for some input is missing. So that is missing value. That means we have that variable, but we do not get, or we have that missing value. As you can see here, this is our variable: city, country, student, teacher, gender, birthday, name, ID. So this is our variable, and we have some missing value in our variable, for our variable. Okay, here is midpoint in the scale. So 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 here is the midpoint in the scale. Midpoint in the scale are what I call as neutral scale. As you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the midpoint in the scale, or the neutral in our scale. And then our mean value. As you can see, there's missing item in our mean value. So in analysis of data, sometimes we need the mean of value. We need to calculate the mean. Later we will see, we sometimes we need to calculate the mean. We need to calculate the standard deviation for our data, but we will see that one later. And then some random number, and usually if we move the column, that means we remove the variable as well, because one column represent one variable. Like, okay, that one is for this one. So before I move on, so far guys, do you have any question before we go to this data analysis? No, right? Okay, cool. So data analysis objective. So why, as you can see, data analysis objective. So why do we need to do, or what is the objective of our data analysis process. So here, as you can see, here there are three. There's the three first: getting a feel for data, testing the goodness of data, and testing the hypothesis. So let's see for the first one. So we need to do data analysis to getting a feel for the data. That's mean, like I said just now, in our data, sometimes we need this value. Means STD is standard variation, range, variance, and correlation. So like I said just now, correlation. Correlation is a relationship between two object or two variable in our research. So we need to get this data, which it is very important to some, because research we have few types, right? So it is very important to some type of research, and it is important to get the data. And then testing the goodness of data. So what is it mean by goodness of data? Yes, if we do data collection, the intention or the purpose of the data collection is, of course, to get data. But how reliable is our data? How precise or how accurate is our data? So here is using the cron batch alpha. So cron batch alpha is actually it's not a formula. Cron batch alpha is this one is in practical last week. Crossback alpha is like a method or formula. Yeah, something to measure the internal consistency. That means we are using this crossback alpha to test the internal consistency to see how reliable or how useful is our data. That is meant by testing the goodness of data. And then, of course, like I said, at the end of our research, to justify, uh, we need to justify our hypothesis. So we need to do data analysis to accept or to reject our hypothesis. That's what it meant by hypothesis testing, to see what we say or to test what we already assumed early in our research is accepted or rejected. Okay, that one is the reason why we conduct our data analysis. Mm. So here in data analysis, we have these three what do we call this? This is not a result, but this is a method depending on what we want to get. So first we will go to investigating the difference. If we want to see if there is any difference between our our variable in our research, usually we will go to or we'll use t-test and ANOVA. And in ANOVA also they have one-way and two-way ANOVA. But I think for your level, because your level, you only stop, we only go until this level, which is we will see what is the concept of ANOVA. Okay, actually ANOVA can be very complex for some data, for some research. It can be very complex, but this is the common method to use if we want to see if there's any difference between our variable. And then to investigate the relationship, we have this correlation and regression. Like I said, correlation is the mutual relationship between our variable, and regression is to test or to see if the mutual relationship of correlation is positive or negative relationship. For for example, positive uh, positive correlation is um, for example, let me give you example. For example, a research title or a research that is conducted to see the use of social media to the student performance. So we want to see is if there is a relation between this use of social media and the student performance. So positive correlation is something like at the end of our research, we will state that there is a relationship between the use of social media with the student. That is positive correlation. But negative correlation is something like there is no relationship between the or the use of media, social media is not affected the student performance. So that is the correlation, negative correlation. Okay, and then we have chi square. So what is chi square actually? So chi square in a research or in a data analysis, chi square is to test the independence for two variable. But this one we will see later, but that is chi square. Chi square is to see the independent or the dependent of the variable. And then we move to the first one, which is ANOVA. Okay, so here we have data analysis for uh, hypothesis testing. So analysis of variables using ANOVA. So we use ANOVA to find out if the survey conducted is the result that we get from the survey is significant. That means it is useful or it is correct to and to figure out if we need to reject the null hypothesis or accept the alternate hypothesis. So wait a minute. Mm, Okay. So, okay. So here, I already copied this one, right? To figure out if you need to reject the null hypothesis or to accept the hypothesis. So here, mm, okay, so we need to figure out or we need to decide if we want to reject the null hypothesis or to accept the alternate hypothesis. So this is an example or some simple example for the research title. So null hypothesis is actually we state that is something that is this is our variable, right? Use of social media and the academic performance. So this is our variable, which is our independent and dependent variable. So this one in the null hypothesis, we state something like there is no relation between our variable and I mean, there's no relationship between our two variables. So that means there is no relationship between this use of social media and the academic performance, student academic performance. So that is one example of null hypothesis. Another example of null hypothesis is use of social media do not affect the student performance. So that is null hypothesis. Okay. This is the example of null hypothesis because I think this is new to you. So alternative hypothesis or the one that we already learned is use of social media affect the student performance. So not only this, I think you can find a few more hypotheses, but basically that is null and alternative hypothesis. So we go back to this point to figure out if we need to reject the null hypothesis or to accept the hypothesis. That's mean if, for example, if in our research we found out that there is a significant relationship between the use of social media and the student academic, that means we need to accept the alternative hypothesis here because as you can see, this first alternative hypothesis is contradict with the first null hypothesis. That means if you accept this one, if our result from our data processing, if we accept this one, then by right it is we will reject this one because these two statements are contradict. They are different. This one we say that there are or there is a relationship between these two variables use of social media and the student performance different with this one. We said there is no relation between these two variables. Okay, so that is null and alternative hypothesis. So do you guys understand for that part? The null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. Any question? Okay, let's move on to the next page. So ANOVA is back to this page. This now ANOVA is to test or to justify our hypothesis. 9:30 already. So ANOVA, any experiment that has more than two conditions must be analyzed by ANOVA. So here is the two estimate of the variability in the population. So there is a difference between and within the group. So that one we can test using ANOVA within the group and between the group. But honestly, for ANOVA, right? Honestly, because I'm not talking about master or PhD research. For master and PhD research, this is very common. But in degree for FYP, uh, because last time I'm a student too, I never see, or I'm not sure if your research need this ANOVA. But for degree last time, my friends, including me, because actually we don't use ANOVA. That means we only do some simple data analysis. So, but this is important for a research, actually, ANOVA, to analyze our data to produce the output. So ANOVA, as you can see, this is the ratio F. So ratio F is actually between, as you can see here, between condition variability. So ratio F is actually ratio of two mean square value. It is a ratio between two mean square value. So this is one of the step, or one of the way for using ANOVA to get or to produce what we want to analyze our data. And then ANOVA summary. ANOVA summary. So ANOVA summary is actually, if you already read some paper, if you already go through some an article, if you find the ANOVA summary is usually in a table form. Yeah, like this one. So this is in a table form. So we go back to here first. So in the table form, usually we have this SS sum of square, and then degree of freedom, mean square, ratio F, the one I said just now, and the probability. So sum of square, I think you know what is sum of square, because sum of square just you sum all the square of your value. And then degree of freedom, this is new. Degree of freedom is quantity that depends on the number of group or subject. So mean square is the square of your mean, and then ratio F, the one that I explained just now, and probability. So this is what is usually we have in our table or ANOVA summary. Usually people will come out, or people will produce this ANOVA summary towards the end of the data analysis. So ANOVA table summary. If there's an experimental effect, the variance attribute to the conditions, which mean square, will be larger than the variance attribute to the subject. So this is like a syntax. Syntax is the way it is. So this is like like a rule for ANOVA, because not only ANOVA, other tool also, they have like the rules to see their result. So this is the rules for ANOVA. So if the ratio is sufficiently greater than 1.0, it is considered significant. Like I said just now, it is a rules to see our result if it is significant or not. Because if you're using ANOVA, it can be considered as significant. But if you're using other method or different method, it can bring different result. So this one for ANOVA. So investigating the difference using ANOVA. So here, is there a significant difference in sleeping hours among the students of different programs? So this one is, I can tell this one is our research question. We want to see, we want to test if there is a relationship between sleeping hours to the student of different programs. So does the different program student have different sleeping hours? So here is our independent and dependent variable. This one too, I want to talk to you guys too about this one, this part later. So the independent here is this one, and then this one is our independent, this one is our dependent. So here, as you can see, I think RSF, RST, and REI is like a program, our variable program. And then hours of sleep is our variable. So this is RSF is our independent variable. Our program is our independent variable, and hours of sleep is our dependent variable. The result that we want to see. So we want to see if there is a relationship between two variables. So that's why we use ANOVA to see the difference, investigating the difference. And then this one, like I said just now, so this one is analysis using the ANOVA uh, at the end of our research or at the end of analysis, they state that using this ANOVA to investigate the difference or relationship that accept the null hypothesis. By the way, I want to ask you guys from this research question, what is the null hypothesis that you guys can think of? Mm, Alvin, what is one null hypothesis that you can think of from this research question? What was it? From this research question, this one, what is the null hypothesis? Yes. So this is the example of null hypothesis. There is no relation between sleep time and program. So we have our variable here, and we state that there is no relation. There is no relation between the program. So that is the null hypothesis. So at the end of this example, they reject or they accept the null hypothesis because it is true that there is no relation at all. But of course, we need to, like I said, we have a rule for ANOVA to declare or to decide if it is accepted or rejected. Okay. But the main purpose for this lecture, for this part chapter here, is to give the overall or the overview on ANOVA actually. I want us to calculate the ANOVA in our midterm. Okay. So that one, but of course you need to study this one. But that one is for just now. So correlation, like I said earlier in our chapter just now, correlation is like mutual relationship. So correlation R is the strength of relationship between two variable. The relationship between two variable. Also called as Pearson correlation, which is +1 and -1. So wait. Hmm. Yeah. So it is called as Pearson or known as Pearson correlation coefficient. So here, like I said, mm, correlation example is to show the relationship between two variable. So we need to see if the variable, as you can see, we have y and x, y against x. So this is plus, this is relation, R correlation. We need to see if the variable have the negative or positive correlation. That's what we call as regression correlation, to see if our variable have positive or negative relation. 15 minutes. So this is correlation. We can set our correlation moderately weak or moderately strong. So it will be considered as weak if it is go to this one and moderately weak. So this is like the scale to see. Like I said, we have a rule. So this is the scale for correlation to know if our relationship is plus 1 1 or towards 0. So referring to the, it depends on what we are using. So data analysis regression. So like I said, regression is to see what is the one just now, what to see if it is a positive or negative relationship. So definition, predicting the value of one variable from another variable based on the correlation. So predict what is the value, or yeah, what is the value of variable based on the relationship. So slope of the regression line M reflects the relationship between two variables. So slope in a graph is actually our gradient. Gradient that is common in mathematics. I want to explain what is gradient in graph. Then the equation is y is equal to mx plus b. Y is equal to mx plus c is a physics, but it's derived. Y is equal to mx plus b. So what is y? Mx and b. So y and x, like I said just now in the graph, y and x is our variable. So we get the variable, we get the value of our variable from the graph, we put here, and then we see what is the value. We need to predict, we can predict the value of one variable using this equation. So yx is the variable, m is the slope or the gradient that I said just now, and b is the y-intercept line. Okay, and then here is the investigating relationship. So investigating relationship regression to see if there is a positive or negative relation between two what do you call this variable. So what is the individual and combined power diploma CGPA, and what result in predicting CGPA in bachelor. So they use diploma CGPA and they use this MUET range result to predict the CGPA for bachelor. So we need to see what is the, they want to investigate, we want to investigate what is the relationship. So here they are using some data here, and then they are model summary. Like I said, it's in table form. So this is the model summary for the particular research is now, and this is the coefficient. So this is the table for coefficient. The what is now? The what is this? Variable. Variable. Yeah, variable. So this is how it should look like in data analysis. So bachelor CGPA, so diploma CGPA, and then they do the analysis. So as you can read here from the bottom of here, the result of R2 from the table in this study, which declare it has a strong size effect. That means the diploma CGPA and MUET is or have positive relationship that can use to predict the bachelor CGPA. Then we move to chi square. So what is chi square? So chi square is actually what we use to test the independence compared to variable. So this is a program. This is a relationship status. Single, couple, complicated, I guess. So here, this is the hypothesis program is independent of relationship status. That means program do not have, program do not affect the relationship status. Yeah. So chi square is to test the independence compared. for two variable. So this is our variable, this is our relationship status. This is our independent variable, this is our dependent variable. So program is independent of relationship status. That means program do not affect the relationship status here. So like I said, the null, this one is a null hypothesis. So program is independent of relationship status. That means there is no relation, or that is, yeah, there's no relation between program and the relationship status. So we accept our null hypothesis, the one that I said just now. We need to declare, or we need to decide whether, or either to accept the null hypothesis or to accept the alternative hypothesis. So no association was found between program and the relationship status. Okay, it is null. It is not related at all. So any question? No, because if yes, I think you will ask. So here is the conspect alpha. So conspect alpha to test the goodness of our data, or to test the reliability of our data, or how good our data is. So we use this crunchback alpha to test the internal consistency. So like I said, you using, like for just now, the ANOVA, we have the rules, or we have the guide of how we read our data. So this is the example of our data. So that means if we get our alpha between this range, it will be considered as good. This range will be considered as excellent. So like I said, again, we need to refer to the syntax of how we read our data based on what we use. For ANOVA, it's different, and for Crunchback, it's also different. Oh, by the way, this is the data, or the table that we should refer when we want to declare our result. Testing goodness of data. So here is the scale for motivation of self-learning. So from strongly disagree to strongly agree. So we are going to use this crunchback alpha to see how reliable or how good is our data. So if crunchback alpha from this result, from this example here, is greater than 2.7, so it will fall to this one. It is acceptable. So here, crunchback alpha, like I said, crunchback alpha, after we do our analysis, we get alpha is greater than 0.7. So we check back here. So our internal consistency, or how good our data, or how reliable our, no, it's not longer data, it's a result already, because it's processed already. So how good, or how reliable our result is, it is acceptable for the research. So that's how you do, that's how you check. And then turn, this is our case study. So turnover rate is very high in company. So this is a questionnaire survey conducted. So this is a questionnaire done in a company with 174 number of employees, and they want to identify what is the factor of the employee, or what is the factor of the staff to leave the company. So what are the factors that affect the staff to leave the company? So this is a questionnaire survey to check what is the relationship. So as you can see here, we have dependent and independent variable. So dependent is the intention to live, which, while the independent is the factor. That's mean dependent is anything that we will be affected because of this independent variable. So in this case study, intention to live is, or will, yeah, is affected by this character, or by this element. So it can be the job characteristic, Job characteristic is like a job description or what we do in what we do. For example, if you're a programmer, what should we do? And then perceived equality. Perceived equality is maybe the perceived equality in a company, for example, like how how possible? No. Yeah, what is the possibility of us to get promoted? Burnout is excessive work and job satisfaction. So this one we need to check the or we want to conduct a survey to check this case study. So here, type of data analysis. Okay, so we are still in this data case study. So here is type of data analysis. So type of data analysis that we can use is Crunchback alpha for the measure. We can use this one and then the frequency distribution to the variable. Description statistic use such as mean and standard and Pearson correlation matrix and the establishment of hypothesis testing. So this is the type of data analysis that we can use to test the reliability or the goodness of our data. So this is our hypothesis testing. So hypothesis testing. So men will perceive less equity than women. So men will perceive less equity than women. And then the job satisfaction of individual will vary depending on the shift they work. Employee intention will be vary according to the job title. There will be a relationship between the shift that people work and this the four independent variable are the this attribute. So this is the hypothesis and we need to check and we need to test or what we call that we need to justify this hypothesis whether to accept or to reject them. So this is the result of data and then this is the reliability of data. As you can see here, this is kind of pseudocode, but yeah, this is kind of pseudocode, but this is the reliability analysis. This is the process. So from the menu, choose analyze scale, reliability analyze. So select the variable constituent scale and choose model alpha. So this is that's why I said this is like a pseudocode because pseudocode is to tell the process or the logic of our application. Same goes to this one. So this is the flow or the step to test the reliability of our data. So this is the reliability output that we get using this flow here. So we get our alpha is 0.1 at 0.8172. 0.1 alpha is 0.172 and then standard item alpha is 0.8168. So this is the result of analysis. So we get the frequency, percent, valid, and cumulative. So this is the sample or the dummy data that we get from the survey conducted. So what they're trying to say is we can use this data analysis to see the reliability of our data. So again, this is an example of this is the table of our result where they already analyze the mean and the medium, the mean and they get the median. Okay, and then this is the result of data that they get from the Pearson correlation, which tackle each of the variable, which is this one, and this one. So this is the element this now intention to live in a company. So this is the Pearson correlation. That means this is the relationship to no, this is the graph that show the positive or negative relationship between variable. Okay, so I'm very fast, I know, but it's okay. So this is the result of data analysis. So So, for example, we have this hypothesis: women will perceive more equity than men, or men will perceive less equity than women. So, statistically expressed, H1 is greater than this one, and then we are using T test. So, here at the end of this research, or at the end, no, at the end of this particular data analysis, they accept P. If P is greater than 0.05, they will accept, and if P greater than 0, less than 0.05, they will reject the null. So here is the second hypothesis. So we want to see if the second hypothesis is rejected or accepted. As you can see, after they already analyzed, they reject the null hypothesis. Okay, they will reject the null hypothesis. And then same goes to hypothesis 3. They analyze and then they accept the null hypothesis based on the output or based on the result they get. And hypothesis 4, this is actually they try to test all the hypotheses that they list out. Like I said, each of your hypotheses that you list out or you identify in your research, you need to state whether to accept or to reject them by proving them. So here from the first hypothesis until the fifth hypothesis, they're trying to justify the hypothesis whether to reject or to accept the hypothesis. So that's how they analyze the ANOVA. As you can see here in this lecture note, there's no, of course, there is a way to actually conduct ANOVA, but like I said, mm, most of the students for degree don't really use this kind of tools to analyze the data. Usually, I'm talking about FYP, of course. Research method shouldn't be as serious as FYP. So for FYP, it depends on your research actually, but usually this is for complex or complete research. Okay, so for your, I won't say for your assignment you don't have to use this, but it depends lah on how complex or how you want to analyze your data. I will accept even if you just, no, I shouldn't say this, but you can return me any type of your analysis of data. So far, any question? Boring, right? I know some of you not even listening, but that's okay. So actually, that's the end for our lecture for today. I was quite fast because actually today I've reason why my lecture was quite fast is now. First, because that is ANOVA, which is I think for deep research. So that's it's just like the introduction so that you know, oh, this thing is exists. Because second is I want to do this thing because as you already know, we have our midterm, like I said earlier in our lecture. So I want to focus on our midterm. This one will be the last one. Assignment progression will be the last one. This one is our practical. So I want to focus on discussion on past year paper. So guys, can we have like 10-minute break before we move to our next agenda for today? Or do you have any question? Yeah, so I think we will start at 10:14. Yes. E I put this material. Okay, sorry. So, guys, I already upload two sample of your question in the classroom. So you guys can download this. So now let's do for the so guys, this is the sample. Actually, your midterm two will be using a Google Form. So this is the sample. If you guys already see, okay. So if you guys already see both of the file, I I uploaded four file actually, one for PDF and one Google Form for each of question. So two set PDF, and PDF is the article and the Google Form is the question. So that is the sample of how your midterm will be. So now, hmm, yes, using Google Form because data 2042 2042 2042. Hmm, 1 minute, guys. Where's this? So this is what I get from the CC. For you guys actually because yeah, no, and we put into the group one is it? Same with your previous quiz for your tutorial group. Actually, because the set or the Google Form is actually from the CC, so they have that group is because that one other branches they have many students, so even in one branch they have few lecturer for one subject. So that is important for them. But for me, because I'm teaching you for your lecture, practical, and tutorial, so what's important just your of course you just need to fill your tutorial group, but of course what's important is your metric number and your name. So I give you guys because only 4 page, right? So this is very important for you guys. Do not skip this article. So I give you guys until 10:45 to read this paper. Okay, 10:45 for your paper. Because in exam you all have 2 hours if I'm not mistaken. So 10:45 I will come back to you guys. Identify the dependent variable. Identify identify the dependent variable. So let me remove one of this. Okay, content check. Noted on that. guys, did you finish reading the paper? Okay. Hmm. So let me. Okay. So since you guys already get the access right to the Google form, so by referring this the article and the Google form here. Okay, so here a letter. This is not a quiz, but I want a response. Yeah, this one letter you need to send to me for my. By the way, student need to submit this one to the lecturer, so you guys need to send this one letter. Okay, so let's proceed with let's proceed with the first one since you already finished. This one is the first one, right? Yes, this one is the first one. So for the first question, which is independent and dependent variable, hmm, from the title, other than I mentioned this student do not answer this question. Other than Noel, Chin Shu Tin, I think it's Celine, Kelvin Shak, and Jonathan Ian. Other than these four students, what is the dependent and what is the independent variable from the article? You can get from the title, right? So other than those four students just now I mentioned, independent the student. mm, okay, here independent and dependent. Okay, the reason why I said these four students shouldn't answer is because last week we have no, it's not last week actually, it was on quiz 4. Yeah, it was on quiz 4, but I assume you guys know already. On the quiz 4, they have this kind of question where they ask what is the variable and what is the independent and what is the dependent variable. Other than these four students, only these four students answer correct for, because they have two set of question that ask what is this the dependent and independent variable. So only these four students who answer all the question correctly. The other student, I'm not sure you guys understand what is dependent or what is independent. But guys, it is very important for you to know what is dependent and independent variable just by looking at the title of the research. So here, you guys, independent, independent. So here, independent and is the use of technology on student learning achievement. So dependent if the student learning achievement. So you can see. So yeah, I hope by this week everyone should understand already, because I'm quite disappointed when I check your quiz only those four students correct with the answer. I think it's Noel, Celine. Jonathan Ian and Kelvin Sharp. Only those students. The other student they have, because like I said, they have two set, which is one set asks for one dependent and independent variable, and another set is ask one what is dependent and independent for other research title. So only these four correct answer both set. The other student some is the first one is correct and then the second one is not correct, so like there's no consistency. So I'm not sure if you guys really understand what is dependent and independent variable, but let me explain here again what is dependent and what is independent concept actually. So for instance, this title, impact of student use of technology to the learning achievement. So dependent, the question asks for what first? So independent, right? So independent variable is a variable, mm, is a variable that we change or that we manipulate in our research. So the thing that we change here, which is independent variable, is the use of technology, while dependent is the variable that depend on the independent variable. That means um, the result or what is affected because of the changing variable. So I repeat, independent variable is the variable that we change or what we manipulate, and dependent is what is affected because of the this variable. Okay? So that is dependent and independent variable. Huh? This one for quiz 4 last week. I mean last time, the one that I said your answer is correct is for last, not for not this one just now. I mean for the last quiz, which is quiz 4. Yeah, it's on the quiz 4. I'm talking just now is about the quiz 4, not this current quiz, and not this current exercise. Yeah. So this is correct answer that I received here. So I assume all of you should know already what is dependent on an independent variable. Yeah, the thing I said just now is for the previous quiz. It's quiz 4 to be exact. And then, but before we move to the next question, anything you want to ask, any student want to ask anything regarding this independent or dependent variable? All right. So next we move to the second question. So anyone can provide me any simple answer for question 3? Any kind of validation is question 3, right? So any sample of answer for validation which has been done on the instrument? Anyone want to try? Oh, let me read first. Let- Oh, guys, by the way, I want to remind you. Okay, stop from here first. Okay, by the way, I want to remind you in your midterm, because as I was informed, as I was informed from our TC. Oh yeah, this one is what I get from our CC. This one just now. Students submit their answer using Google Form for all quiz like what we did. Dry run. Dry run is like a mock test. Mock test is something that we conduct before the real thing. So mock test will be conducted next week. and midterms test. So all of this here quiz, our mock test or dry run, and our midterm test will be using this Google form. This one is already decided by those people. So where did I stop just now? Okay, so actually for because referring to my statement just now, our midterm will be using a Google form. So since the previous quiz already, you guys should have like the experience on how it will be. But guys, let me remind you, I know this is an open test, but of course for open test, of course lah, the question is not something that you can search what the question asks, but the internet will only return to you the specific, oh no, the general. For example, if you want to search for what is dependent and independent, the Google will return to you what is dependent and independent, but they won't return to you for this particular article, because we even to the actually, because I'm a CC too, so even when we want to design a question, we need to think something, we create our own thing, so that means we cannot find on the internet. So my point here, I know this is an open test, so if you want to Google for things, be wise with what you Google. Because why I say so, because in the previous quiz, some students send me the link for the answer. I didn't even click to the link because I asked for answer, not for the link to the question. I don't need link. You don't have to send me the link for me to read. I don't need link, guys. That one is the first one. I'm not sure if it is tested here intentionally or it was an accident, and then the student submit to me the link, or maybe the student want me to do more reading, so that's why they submit me the link. So guys, don't send me the link. I don't want any link in a Google form. I won't even click on it. Even your answer is correct, I won't check on the link. I didn't even click on the link. That one is the first one. Second one, I noticed from the previous quiz, the student returned me the answer in the form of question. For example, this is just an example. This one cannot be an example. This one cannot be an example. So, for example, I asked what is the independent and dependent. Then the student returned me. Independent is the variable that we manipulate in our research. That is not an answer. That is something for me to think again. Okay? Of course, you need to give me the precise answer, something like this, not something for me to think. Others, they got, you know, one student, one of your friends sent me something like, he asked me to think behalf of him. He give me general answer, then I need to think what he said. It's not referring to the question. If I get, if you guys return that kind of question, hmm, no marks for you. Okay? So let's be clear on that one. So let's move to the next question just now. Here, so is there any kind of validation on our instrument here? So we are using questionnaire as our instrument. So actually, how to test or how to see the validation of our research is actually in research, to see or to do validation on a research is actually to, for example, to measure the, let me think what's the proper statement. By the way, yes, there is, to answer the question in the this one, in the question, yes, there is a validation. One, two, three. One, two, three. One, two. Okay. So I think I already explained. No, it's not explained. I think I already taught last week or last. I'm not sure, but I said that to develop even a questionnaire, we need to. What was my explanation last week? We need to validate. We need to. Yeah, we need to validate if our we need to validate if our research question, we need to validate if the question in our research is acceptable or valid or not. I remember I told you guys my questionnaire was rejected so many times for my master because the questionnaire is not suitable. So to answer this kind of question, is there any kind of validation which has been done to the instrument questionnaire? So you need to read, and it is from the article there is an expert. So let me talk this one in general first. So where is the article just now? So in any research, to develop a questionnaire or to validate if our questionnaire is valid or not, the function of validation is actually to see if our question is relevant or it is valid to tackle our research or not. So to validate our instrument, which is questionnaire, here is by sending the questionnaire to the respective expert in the field. So for this particular research, it is from the medical school. Yeah, it's from the medical school. So and then if referring to this, what do we call this? Title. Title. So we know that we need to have an expert in this field, an expert, an expert in the field. So we need to use the here medical profession. That's mean, is it this one, the one I said just now? Is it what we ask, or is it what we ask, or what? Yeah, is it what we ask, or our question is relevant with our objective or not? So that is the validation of instrument. This one I hold first. This one, Rachel, is more or less the same with Ian answer. He said that it is validated by two experts in the medical profession. So again, in general, not focusing on this research paper or not focusing on this article. So usually for article, it will be validated by expert. So for example, another example, for example, my master research was on gaming learning application. So my questionnaire was sent to the expert in the domain of gaming and learning application. So here, of course, we need to send to the expert in medical profession. And then the second point also, this one I hold first. The second point also, same with Ian. The patient was developed and consultant. This one is correct. Same, just step that I know. I need to explain, not copy. Just that I know. I need to explain. I need to explain, not copy. Alvin, are you referring to this answer? Or you want to say that you want to know what it is exactly? You know what is validate questionnaire? Is it so? If that is your answer, if that if you're trying that you understand what is the validation, then it is correct because from your answer it pointing to the article. Just that I know. I need to explain, not copy exactly from article. Okay. So yeah. So here, let's take one example here. So the first one is yes. The answer is yes. There is a validation. Why there is a validation? Because we send the questionnaire to the expert on the field, or uh, those who are expert based on the title research. And then here is the justification why it is a validated questionnaire, along with internal consistency checked by a psychometrician. This one should be an expert too. So again, on this article, internal consistency we need to be checked by the expert. This one is from the article. The reliability quotient was found to be 0.73. So this is a reliable, actually it's more the same. It's reliable result. So the questionnaire is or have the, where is it? So the questionnaire has done the validation. Okay. But for your, before we move on to this question, for your assignment, because I already see some of the survey questionnaire, for your level, this one already confirmed by the CC. You don't need to send to the expert, because I'm pretty sure you do not know how to find an expert. So you just send to me, so I just like check your question. Okay. By the way, that is the validation on questionnaire. That's when we need to check on the question. So before we before we move on, any question? Pearson correlation is a technical. Okay. So yeah, because you already sent your questionnaire. So next is the next question. Pearson's correlation is a technique to investigate. This one I explained just now in the lecture, to investigate the relationship between two variables. So originally the use of technology, this one is from the title. Is it a continuous variable? If no, explain the transformation process of the variable into the continuous variable. So for this one, any simple answer for this Pearson correlation? Any simple answer, guys? Before I before I explain one answer, this one from Kelvin. So let's see, or let me explain what is continuous variable. So continuous variable in our research, or in our, as in our variable, it is a variable that can go, it's not go. For example, it different for research, different for the, different based on the, of course, the title. So for example, we have one metric to measure, or range. Yeah, metric or range. We have this metric or range. This variable can go to anywhere. So use of technology was not continuous variable. The use of technology can be represented by frequency of technology. It's easy. I just cross check. Okay, let me hold this one first. So other than this, Kelvin, Is there any simple answer? Uh, Lim Lim Jing Lim 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 Jing Meng Lim. Have you answered this question? Wong, this Wong. Yeah, Wong. Ian, have you answered this question? It's so okay. Here is the correct. Use this one. So, it does not involve manipulation. It does not involve manipulation of independent variable because involve manipulation. Why you say that? Where's my paper just now? Okay. So, Noel, what do you mean by it does not involve manipulation of independent variable? Because mm, it does not involve manipulation of independent variable. Independent variable, usually in a research, if we have independent variable, that's mean that's variable are meant to be or set to be manipulated. So here, this is not a correct statement because as you can check here on the abstract part, they already abstract, right? Yeah, on the abstract part, they already written or yeah, they already written the result, which the study observed a significant relationship between student use of technology and their achievement in health college. So that's mean they are um, they are relationship or they are yeah, there are relationship between these two variables. In fact, some more to support my statement just now, as you can read from the title here, impact of student use of technology. So, uh, so you can see here the terms impact of students. So they want to change or they want to manipulate this use of technology to see what is the effect on the learning achievement. So this one, I'm sorry, this is not a correct statement. Okay, Noel. So before we proceed, Noel, did you understand or do you understand? Okay, so let's get back to this one. So you said okay. So like I already explained what is continuous variable. For example, if you have a matrix or you have a range, then it can be within any range. So here, use of technology. So here, the use of technology previously or originally was not a continuous variable. Okay, if you do not understand what is continuous variable from what I explained, you guys can try to Google and try to search for sample of research that include continuous variable. So use of technology wasn't a continuous variable. So the use of technology here can be represented by frequency of technology usage daily for different types of smart device use. Actually, but by the way, this answer is correct. But what I want to say, actually, if you do not know the term, if you do not know, for example, here, if you do not know what is the, if you do not know previously, we take here what is the validation. If we if in the midterm later, if you do not know what is validation, because this is open, well, because this is an e-test, so there's a word e there, so it's using the internet. But uh, how to say this? Because of course you guys cannot go Google, right? And this is not something right for me to say, but yeah, if you do not know the term here, I won't say go Google for it, but you know how to survive. So whatever you get from whatever you do, you just try to connect back the concept with the research. Okay, so you just try to connect back and refer and tackle the research title. Do not give me something general. Okay, I think you guys understand what I mean. I don't want to go far from that one. So here is correct answer. Okay, use of technology was then originally a continuous variable because why? Like I already explained what is continuous variable. So what it can be changed or what it should mm, transform so that it can be a continuous variable. Okay, understand? Can we move to the last part of this question? Miss, you skip one question. Huh? Do you? I skip. Oh, oh, oh. So this one is the validation just now. Okay. So do you think that this one is actually, since you already answer the first question, is there any kind of validation? And the answer just now is yes. And there's a reason for that. Check back the answer previously. So I think if you already know this one, so do you think the instrument used in the study is reliable? So this means that the questionnaire used for this study, is it reliable or not? So you need to explain why. So what is the answer for this one? Why do you think it is? This one is actually this kind of question is more or less the same. Acceptable. Why? So actually not answer but reliable. Okay, first we go to here first answer. So this is I'm not sure how he can get this answer quite fast. So yes, by the way, the answer is yes because yes, it is reliable because as you can see from the result, like I said, you need to check. Wait, hmm. Okay. So yes, I think because I think this is on the, if you read the, if you read what do we call this? The all article, you should find somewhere the result here in the analysis of data. Okay. So this is the correct answer. Why? Because the reliability coefficient was found to be 0.73, 0.73 because they're using Cronchback alpha, so it is within the range. So how you get 0.73? Like I said, you can find somewhere in this paper. Okay, so you need to read the paper. I think it's obvious. So this is the answer. Acceptable, yes, but Rachel, we need to state why. You need to state why. For answer. It is validated by expert. With so this one is not first because they have, as you can see, they are marked there, kan? They are marked there, right? So you can check. So first you get 1 mark for yes. Yes, it is reliable. You get mark. This one too, only 1 mark because it is validated by expert. This is not really exact or not really precise. Then reliable, 1 mark. It is validated by expert. Not precise, not what the term, not exact. And then use crunchback alpha. So you know it's use crunchback alpha, but you need to refer to the result actually. Okay. This one is your answer, kan, Rachel? Yeah. This one is the same with. So yes, this is should be the answer. So for Jonathan Ian, you need to specify also. Also, the questionnaire is conducted among target audience during second year at one of five health college. Do you think the instrumentation of this study relevant? Actually, there's no like. I think this one just to support your statement, your point. Yeah. But you need to check on the again. You need to check on the written result in the experiment or in the research in the article. Okay, you need to answer something like this, something like this. I'm not sure. Every time I ask Calvin, Shark will copy. It's not copy. He will give me something like maybe I want them if he pass from the article, but I'm kind of impressed with the speed of his reading. For some reason, I'm not sure. I think he's a smart student. By the way, let's move to the next question. So research experimental design, explain or justify your answer. So this one, we have this in chapter. I'm not sure, but I'm quite sure we already covered this. We have type of research, right? So is this article or is this research is an experiment? Is this research or is this article is an experimental design and justify your answer? First, we need to identify, we need to know what is this type of research. What is experimental design? So guys, what is or who wants to answer this one? Is this research and experimental design? No. If yes, why? And if no, why? By the way, what is experimental design? Before we move, Celine, do you have sample answer for this one? Is this is an experimental design or not, Celine? Celine or Noel, maybe you want to try if this is an experimental or not. I already covered it, this type of research in chapter 2, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. But what is experimental design? Hmm. So, experimental design is actually no, Calvin Shark, your answer is wrong. So, experimental the experimental do not how to answer. So, this is wrong. Jonathan, Ian, do you have answer for this one? Jeremiah. Jeremiah, do you have answer for this one? Jeremiah and Daniel, why so silent today?
Miss, I just say my thoughts lah. It's not experimental design because the independent variable, which is the student use of technology, cannot be manipulated by the researchers and stuff.
The use that the use of technology as the independent variable is not manipulated.
We cannot be manipulated.
The use of technology cannot be manipulated.
Yeah, because it's highly dependent on the students. So the researcher cannot change it or manipulate it whatever he wants like that.
Oh, okay. So your answer is no. Jonathan Ian, I think better you write whatever you said just now to the box.
But yeah, yeah, I just thought in my mind only, haven't write it yet.
Yeah, please write here. So by the way, Ken Shark. By the way, Kelvin Shark. Hmm, this researcher pass in group. Guys, let me check something first because for me is it is a experimental design. Right, this is the correct. So my thought is correct. Can only be experimental them to do something to but your answer is let me think. Actually, I'm quite confused because the justification for both answer is true. The student is not allowed, is not told to do something. But okay, first before we before we proceed this one, experimental design is actually a research that is conducted when we have this independent variable that we change or manipulate so to see what is the effect what is the effect? What is yeah? What is the effect? I mean, independent variable is manipulated or is changed to see what is the effect to the dependent variable. So here your so my statement here, because this is a sample answer, but if I'm a researcher too, I agree this is an experimental design because um, we see this independent variable to check the dependent variable. But if we go back to here on this explanation, this is not something. No, no, I reject this statement. These two. This I will stick with my answer. This is a research. This is an experimental design. I reject this statement and I reject this statement and I agree with this statement. Actually, this is a simple answer, but I agree with this one. Why? Because like I said, so wait, I hold this one first. So this research is an experimental design because like I said, for experimental design, we need to see what is the effect of the independent variable to the dependent variable. So here, this variable is affecting this one. Even though that we said this is not something what the participant asked to do, but this is the, see, as you see the result, the study observed a significant relationship between user of technology and their achievement on health quality. So that's mean the student use of technology is used to see or is used to test what is the effect, what is the effect to the student, student, to the achievement in hard college, in hard college. So yes, sabar Kelvin Sharp. So more like correlational design. Correlational design is a research to see the relationship between two variable and ask the technology to use. So Calvin Shak, I want to ask regarding your, because this one is more or less with your assignment, the use of social media to the use of social media to the student achievement. So does the independent variable on your research affect your dependent variable? Hmm.
Yeah,
This is uh,
of course they affect lah. Why?
of, it is of the independent is affecting the dependent. So but you didn't manipulate the use of technology, more like correlational design. So do you say that this kind of research or this particular article is correlational design?
Yeah, because you want to find the correlation between the usage of technology and the physiological uh their learning achievement. Yeah, the learning achievement in physical courses. But you didn't but in this research you didn't at first tell them like you should use this smartwatch or use that smart device first before you do before you do the experiment, doing the experiment. So it cannot be experimental, because experimental is
Hmm.
like you should like doing like lab tests, like those things, like one rat got eat something, the other rat eat another thing, and then you observe what happened to the rat, like that. That's the experimental research. So in
Yeah,
this
that's correct too.
so in this study, you didn't tell the students to do anything. You just observe. You just get the survey, and then you check what happened. Uh, you just check. They do what they usually do, and then you find
The
the
relation.
the correlation to their study, to their achievement. You just observe from it.
I think your answer for some reason is correct. Let me think. I hope they won't ask this kind of question in the exam because I agree with the sample answer, but I think I agree with your two answer too. Oh, by the way, thank you, Calvin Shark. So let me think first. Uh, Research is an experimental because I, s- I think the answer here is from two. Your reason is correct. Your justification is correct. But I think, mm, 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 mm. Yeah, I think should be both because I think this is the way from, I think these two different answer is derived from two different perspective. I stand with this answer, but I agree with your answer too. Because you said that it is something that cannot be manipulated. But from my point of view, from the way I see this research, it is an experimental design. But I think should be correct as long as you can justify your answer. Because experimental, if we go back to the concept of experimental and correlational, mm,
This,
correlational design,
I took the notes lah. He says about the researcher manipulating, so that's why my answer is like that. Just to notify. Yeah, this one I take from the
yeah,
notes.
okay, yeah, it's okay. So I think this one is just from perspective. It's not perspective on how we interpret the research. Because if you say that this is more like correlational design, in experimental design too, we can see the relationship between the two variable. So I think both answer is true as long as we can justify our answer.
It's just this correlation now didn't manipulate the data. It one didn't manipulate one variable. Only experimental got manipulate the variable. But this study doesn't have any. They didn't say they manipulate variable in this study. They just get. I just did survey only.
Use of technology. Wait, let me the analysis.
Yeah,
I
experimental
can see
manipulation. Yeah.
this question. Okay. So I agree with both answer. Just now, like I said, I still stand at my point here because that's what I understand from this. I agree with the simple answer. Oh, because there are analysis using the independent and dependent variable. But I agree with your answer too. Experimental study where researcher manipulate. Sure. Manipulation. This is the manipulation that we want to see. So, okay, I accept both answer as long as you have your justification of your answer. Okay, but actually this is normal in Viva. For one question can take up to hours to think. But back to this question, I accept both answer as long as you have justification of your answer and as long as you can justify your answer. But I will stick with my stand of view. Okay, but this answer is accepted because you can justify and you can not verify. You can just justify why your answer is this way. Okay, guys. Ah, they shouldn't ask this kind of question because experimental design also have the correlational relation between the variable. So let's move to the next paper. So 10:40. After this, do you have class? I think no, right? But I do. Wait, let me check first. Uh, how many page? Add. So add paper. Add paper. Add paper. How long should you read this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Machine effective statistical results and learning satisfaction. At page, I think 15 minutes. Just we will discuss this paper at 11:55. 5, just read until wherever you can reach within 15 minutes. Eh? Eh? Mm, Hi guys. I think for this remaining question, we just go for the first one first one. I mean for the first. Let me, because I have class. Hmm. So I assume you guys can answer this one even though you didn't read the full article yet. So what is the objective of this study? Wait, okay, this one correct. For Konkenshak, for objective, it should have a term like to determine, to evaluate, to evaluate, to what else? Yeah, for your, this one can be one of your, because in the exam or in the question, if they ask you what is the objective, you need to have this to determine, to evaluate, to examine, maybe. Yeah. So you just need to change your, you just need to add actually. But of course, it need to be the correct one. So to determine what is the student perspective of classroom and distance learning during COVID-19. So this one is correct objective. So I think today we just stop until that part because I want to touch a bit on your research. So here we stop on this first question. So next week we will proceed with, we will discuss on the next question. So we will stop until that part first. Okay. So I want to talk about your assignment because I have concern on your assignment. Yeah, I have concern on your assignment. So far, until last night, there are only few group. You know your group. If you think that you already present to me, then that's fine. But to those who haven't present or haven't show me anything or any update yet regarding your assignment progress, I have a very good advice to you guys. Even though you think that what do we call it? Because you need to produce or you need to come out with article, right? So even though you think it's only for 8 to 10 pages, that is not much for you guys to do. But trust me, article is not something that you can do within a night. Hmm. This is in week 10, actually. I'm not sure why I said week 10, but I think I read somewhere. Wait, why I say week 10? Why I say no week 10 or week, oh, wait. I don't know where did I see that, but later I will confirm with you guys back on this one. Okay, Ian. Why did I say week 10? Let me check. Hmm. I'm not sure why I say week 10. No, 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 no. No, let me confirm that back. I saw somewhere, but I will confirm. with you guys back on that part. Okay. So for other group that haven't sent me anything, haven't shown me the progress, I'm not sure how you guys do your work because sometimes I tend to go to the link that you provide to me last time and at night I will check, but some group didn't have any progress yet. I'm not sure if you have no progress at all or you are doing your assignment not using that link anymore. I'm not sure that one, so I'm not sure what is your progress. So I hope that you know your group. If you think that you haven't shown me or update me anything, I'm not sure if you do it correctly or not. So please do at least show me something so that I can correct you guys. Okay? Because I think it is not efficient for me to discuss about your group progress in the class because one group usually for those who already set time with me for the research method, sometimes it up to 30 minutes. So it's not efficient to do if we spend our time to discuss your group assignment in our class. Okay, so you can set time to me, not today, not this week, not this weekend. I had enough of this week. So maybe next week. Okay, I think that's all for your assignment. So next week we will proceed with mid, it's not midterm. We will proceed with mock test. So before I end my question, any, not question, before I end my lecture, any question you want to ask? I think this question is actually from the course coordinator.
Miss, about the questionnaire, right? About the questionnaire, right?
Yeah,
I saw already about other other course, other same course, but other from KL lah. They already done
different
the
branch.
questionnaire. They already done the
Mm,
questionnaire, and they already send
mm,
us send to other students to do. But about the
mm,
questionnaire question, right? How
mm.
how to check if it correct or not? We
You
input
mean how to check if
the question in the questionnaire. If
you, you want to see if your question is valid or not, if it is correct or not
yeah
relevant to your
yeah
research?
yeah.
Actually, that's why I said I think you need to send me your questionnaire for me to check.
Oh,
Actually, other group already sent to me. Yeah, so you can check. You can send to me. Then I will comment to your form.
okay
Yeah, because some group already did that and already comment the question. So regarding this one, can only have 5 word. This one wait first, Kelvin. I think Miss can distribute this question before this class since it need time to answer. Use quite a lot of time. Okay, first, Alvin, you need to know this is not from this is from the CC, so they just distribute this question. That one is the first one, and then the second one in the midterm, they will of course give you also an article for you to read. So you need to use your time wisely because in the exam for your midterm I don't have the question yet. I will only receive your question before the midterm, the day or few hours before the midterm. So there's no way for me to distribute this article early to the student. If I get the question, I mean, if I have the article, why should I keep to myself? Because you're going to answer the question. So I know there's a concern on the time, but there's nothing I can do with that because in your exam too, you will get an article and you will do the same thing. And the article I haven't received and they won't give to us. So the question is checked. The question is checked just now, Daniel. You can send to me because other group already sent to me and I already respond to them. And then I wrote some in my Google form with my explanation. Can only have 5 questions. 5 questions. Last night, Kelvin Shark, I suggest you to send me the link for your Google form first for me to check. Okay? Because the other group I suggest to them add question that is relevant for them. So the best for you is you send me to the link for me to check. Okay? I think I answer all of these questions. So any more question? Can we dismiss? Yeah. So I think from Jonathan, Ian, your group already respond to me last night. So I think we can dismiss now. Okay, guys, have a great evening and have a great weekend. Bye, guys.